We're a couple of minutes after, so I don't want to delay too much longer. I'm sure people will continue to get signed on, but I think we're going to go ahead and kick off here. We have some greetings and some logistical things to start with before we really jump into the content. So if more people are signing on at the same time, that's absolutely great. So welcome everyone to the Spring 2024 Bristol School Board Candidate Virtual Forum. Thank you all for taking a little bit of time out of your Sunday evening to join us and to hear more directly from the candidates for the school board. Really, the purpose of this meeting is to kind of get to know the candidates, to understand their platforms and what's important to them. We have some pre-submitted questions that we have received from folks in the community, so we'll be going through some of those. Before we really jump into the candidates, though, I'll introduce myself. My name is Paige Sefton. I have been a proud Bristol PTO member for many years now, and I'm super proud to be able to host this event for a second time. We did one of these a couple of years ago, and we're back again with another school board forum, so really excited to be here. Again, just as a logistical note, the camera is really only enabled for the candidates and for Jack, who will be saying a few words in just a moment, and the microphone as well. So anyone who is just calling in to listen, you will not have access to camera or microphone. I will be watching the chat as much as I can, and if there are some comments or additional questions, I'll do my best to get to them. We do have a very tight agenda, though. We have pre-selected questions, and we have this all timed out. I am going to be a little bit of a stickler with timing, as I've already told the candidates. I hate to cut people off, but we have a pretty tight agenda here, so I will be keeping very close tabs on the timing for introductions, the timing for their answers, and all of that. And if they're getting close, I will kind of give them give them a little signal if they're getting close, and then we'll go ahead and stop them if they've extended their time. The meeting will be recorded. We will share the link as soon as we can afterwards, and we will do our best to communicate this link throughout the community so that hopefully many people can view this recording before the election and learn about our candidates. So with that said, I do want to just talk very briefly about the PTO itself, who is sponsoring this call. I want to share the mission of the Bristol School PTO for those who may not be too familiar with it. So the mission of our Bristol School PTO is to develop a closer connection between the school and home by encouraging parent involvement, enhancing the educational experience by supporting academic and enrichment activities, and improving the environment at Bristol School by providing volunteer and financial support. And we're very proud to do all of that in a very engaging way. So we're happy to be here tonight to host this. I do have to say, just as a little PTO advertisement, this coming Friday, we have an all-school dance. So for those of you who are in the Bristol School, if you haven't seen anything about it yet, please do check the weekly administrative updates or our Bristol Facebook page. All school dance, everyone is invited, families, friends, kids, come on out to the school. It starts at 6 p.m. this Friday. It's going to be a glow dance. It's going to be super exciting, super fun. So we hope many of you can join us for that wonderful activity. With that said, Jack, I think I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Let me stop sharing my screen so that we get back onto faces. And Jack, if you want to introduce yourself and say a few important words about some upcoming activities.
You bet. Thanks, Paige. Hopefully my audio is better. Does it sound okay?
You're great. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to the Bristol PTO for having tonight's event. And thank you to our candidates for taking time on this beautiful Sunday to just share a little bit about yourselves and get to know everybody here at Bristol. So I appreciate that. And also thank you for everybody that's out there listening, whether it's now or on the recorded version later. This is a great opportunity. I'm proud as a district that we have so much interest, and obviously you guys know how much my job means to me and the district means to me, and that's because of the school board and their support. So I always tell everybody that I have my dream job, and I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, and that's all because of the school board and of the great community that we all serve. So thank everybody for being here. I just wanted to just remind everybody that April 2nd is a vote, not only for school board, but Bristol School District is offering a referendum question on the ballot that day. We are joining now 82% of Wisconsin that has gone to operating referendum here over the last 30 years or so. So we will be asking a question. The question specifically says, can Bristol School District exceed the state mandated revenue limit by $700,000 for each of the next 2 years? So this upcoming school, not this school year, but next school year and the following school year, we are asking for $700,000. The good news is we have money levied that we would normally prepay debt with, that we would then shift over or reallocate into our operational fund. I won't get into too much detail. There is a lot when it comes to school finance, but we are able to do that only with taxpayer permission because of the state revenue limit. So, with that being said, we will not affect the mill rate with this referendum, and we will remain at the 4.7 mill rate that we've had for the last few years. That's been on the steady decline because we live in such a great area with high rising property costs, which is great for our homeowners of our district and great for our mill rate, but sometimes does affect our funding. So I appreciate that as well. Just quickly, we will be looking to maintain the staffing that we have right now in the program that we have. Obviously, costs have gone up significantly recently, and we just the inflationary costs, we're just not keeping up with that. Also, we have some curriculum that we desperately need to update in many areas. We've been able to update our ELA, our English Language Arts curriculum. We need to do so in middle school math, and then also our science and social studies curriculum are in desperate need of an update as well. So those are what we're looking for. As many of you know, we have a beautiful new building, or at the end of the summer, we will have a beautiful new renovated building. So what we have, what we would also like to do is take some of that operating funds and store that away to make sure that we are able to preemptively care for our beautiful new building and get out in front of things like parking lots and roofing and things like that. So we don't have to come back to the taxpayers in 10 or 15 years and ask for another large lump of sum to redo all of those things. So we have an account started for a facility care account. We would like to bolster that quite a bit and have that money there for routine maintenance of things, like I said, the playground, parking lots, roofing, things like that, so that they don't so we're not at the mercy of that, and then again asking to replace those all and go back to scratch. So that's what we're looking to do with the funding. I truly appreciate it. Again, April 2nd, you'll have the opportunity to vote for that and our four candidates that we're about to hear from. So thank you for the time. I really do appreciate everybody being here. And I'll sit back and listen with everybody else. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much, Jack. We really appreciate all of your supports and everything that you do for the school and the district, and that you're here tonight as a support person. So very much appreciate that.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Awesome. All right. So really quickly, how's this going to work? We are going to allow each candidate 4 minutes apiece for an introduction, whatever they'd like to speak about as a personal introduction. We will go through the pre-submitted questions, and each candidate will get 2 minutes for their answers. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate the order just in fairness. We'll go in alphabetical order. I will call out who is going next, so they don't have to keep track. And that's 2 minutes apiece. And then at the end, they will also get a 3 minute each closing statement for whatever they'd like to touch on at that point. All right. I think we're good to go, and I want to jump into it right away. So let's go ahead with the pre-submitted questions. So actually, no, let's go ahead with the introductions, and let me queue up my 4 minutes. So Joanne, I'm just going to go in alphabetical order for the introduction. So Joanne, would you like to go ahead and start with your introduction for 4 minutes?
Sure. Thank you. Hello, I'm Joanne Gray. I'm running for Bristol School Board to give back to my community and help guide our school to be the best it can be. We live here in Bristol, and we really love this community. We have a small hobby farm, and my favorite thing is being outside with our horses. Currently 4, with a foal coming in April. We also have a couple of cats and 3 crazy terriers. My husband and I also run a non-for-profit club with a professional staff and volunteers. We have 3 grown children, all of them building their futures. The oldest has 3 restaurants and is opening her 4th in the spring. Our middle runs executive function for a large concrete company in the South. And our youngest opened her own business 2 years ago as a hairstylist in Winnetka. We're really proud of our kids, and I am looking forward to serving Bristol and hearing your child's success stories in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Appreciate that. Okay. Matthew Lay, you are up next for introductions.
All right. Hey, Matt Lay, running for Bristol School Board. A little bit about my background. I'm educated at UW-Madison, actually graduated from high school in Wisconsin, went on to go to seminary, south side of Chicago, so I have a Master of Divinity, worked in the church nonprofit sector for many years, moved into corporate, kind of got really excited about business, loved working with organizations, understanding how do you function when you're trying to get people together to do stuff. So I ended up doing that for about 8 years, got a master's, MBA. I've got a number of certificates in organizational design, how to help organizations function and run well. I left my corporate job about 5 years ago to start my own consulting business. And really what I do is I work with organizations on team dynamics, some mediation work, executive coaching, management and leadership. I'm writing a book called Manage Your Gaps, Reclaiming the Awesomeness of Management, because one of my passion areas is really helping organizations understand what is this thing we call management and how does it help our organizations function? How is it different from leadership and how is it different from contribution? Behind all of that is I'm really just trying to help people be fulfilled in what they're doing. And that's really a big driver for me. I have a formula that I use in a lot of my work that I call the fulfillment ROI, which is really the amount of energy we put into something and the value it creates for us. That's a positive return. That's a fulfilling experience. So a lot of what's driving me towards the Bristol School Board is carrying that out in an area where I'm deeply rooted and committed, living in the Strawberry Creek area, Heritage Heights. I've got a 5th grader, 2nd grader, and a kindergartner with my wife, Amanda. So we're in it for the long haul for the next 8 years or so. We're going to be connected with Bristol. And part of my background is I moved around a lot. So I've been in a lot of different school districts from the south side of Chicago all the way to the graduating class at Abbotsford High School, where I had 63 kids in my class. So I have many times where I've been the outsider, having to learn how to navigate into a new school, especially a new small town school, navigate those different communities and politics and just how things function. So learning how to see what's happening from the outside and how organizations and groups function is something I'm deeply curious about. So part of why I'm running is I want to not only support the school, but to think about who's not at the table, what voices aren't being heard, who's not part of this conversation, and how can we listen to them? And the other side that drives me is with that wanting people to feel fulfilled, people don't do stuff unless they care. Everybody here that's running cares about kids, cares about Bristol. We want to support the school because it supports our kids and it supports our community. So I want to be a listening voice and a conduit of not only what the administration is doing, not only how we funnel the finances to get that done, but what is the community feeling? How are we making sure we're communicating back and forth, mediating some of those difficult conversations or confusing points so that we can make the best decision that serves everyone, our kids, the school, and our community. So that's why I'm running.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. All right. Linda Mizwicki, your introduction, please.
Hi, I'm Linda Mizwicki. I've lived in Bristol since 2007. I live Lake George area with my husband. I have 3 kids that go to Bristol School. They're in 8th grade, 6th grade, and 2nd grade. So you might see them around the building. Hopefully they're behaving themselves. I know what it's like to juggle work and home and school schedules. I'm a career educator. I've been in the special education field for 17 years. I was a middle school special ed teacher, so I love that like wild, wacky preteen world. And for the last 4 years, I've been a school administrator. I am the student services coordinator for Grays Lake Community School District in Illinois. We are we have 7 schools and several thousand students, and I'm one of 2 special education administrators. So I work in the education world every day. I have a master's degree in special education, a learning behavior specialist certificate, and a master's degree in educational leadership. Before I was in education, I was a horse trainer. My undergrad's degree is a Bachelor of Equestrian Studies. And so I know what it's like to run your own business and live in a community doing that. I competed around the Illinois and Wisconsin area, and I still volunteer for our 4-H. I'm on the county-wide horse project board, so you'll see me at horse shows and at the fair with my girls who are really active in the project. My kids have really benefited from Bristol School, the arts, the electives, and the special education when they needed it. And I want to help continue the excellent education that Bristol provides. I think I bring a balanced perspective and a commitment to education. And I want to be a board member just so that I can help all the students get an access to the education that they deserve.
Thank you, Linda. And finally, for a 4-minute introduction is Nicole Stark.
Hi. Hi, my name is Nicole Starkey. I have 4 kids. They are in 6th, 4, 2, and kindergarten. I'm currently a stay-at-home mom, and I run our household. In my early days, I used to be a lifeguard, swim instructor, and I did that for probably 6, 7 summers. 3 of that, I managed the lifeguards, and I did their scheduling and payroll and all that. I also did a little bit of customer service at Office Max, so I'm very familiar with working with people. Most of my time, though, what I'm really proud of is I've spent a lot of time in maternity. I did 14 years as an OB tech. Watching couples start or add to their families is just an amazing experience. I stopped working when I was pregnant with my 3rd. With my husband's job, it's very intense and gets called in all the time. So we chose for me to stay at home. But healthcare hasn't left my life. I just go in a different direction. I help my mother-in-law with her health experiences, and as well as my oldest daughter. Our family loves going to fireworks and parades and anything in the community that we can attend. My 3 girls are part of an all-star cheer program in Kenosha. Their program is quite intense. They're travel teams, so we do travel a lot. I'm also a team mom there, so keeping the parents involved is definitely a priority. My little boy, who's in kindergarten, he likes to play football, so he is signed up for flag football all spring and fall. With all my kids now in school all day, I just feel that it's time for me to get involved and give back.
Thank you, Nicole, and I apologize for saying Stark. It's Starkey, correct?
Correct, it's Starkey.
Excellent. I will modify that. Thank you. All right. So we're going to jump into the pre-submitted questions. And as I said before, these questions were submitted by Bristol community members. And we're just going to go through each. Each person will get 2 minutes to answer. And as I said, if you're running close, because 2 minutes is not a lot of time, I think we'll all agree on that. If you're running a little close to 2 minutes, I'll give you a little signal just so that you know to wrap it up. And if you've run over, I'll go ahead and tell you to stop. So let's take the first question. And again, we're going to start in alphabetical order. So Joanne will go first with her answer for 2 minutes. So the question is, what work and or life experiences do you feel will be a real asset to the board and potentially sets you apart from other candidates? So Joanne, your 2 minutes starts now.
After 35 years, I sold my commercial insurance agency just a few years ago. I have a vast amount of business experience working with the general public, as well as being a parent. And I mentioned earlier running a nonprofit. I believe I can offer a balanced perspective to the board to help overcome any challenges using this experience with a fair outcome for all.
Thank you, Joanne. We will move to Matt Lay. Same question. What work or life experiences do you feel will be an asset to the board and sets you apart from other candidates?
I think the current work that I do is a lot of process and systems thinking. So how does this whole thing work and function efficiently? If we're looking to get into the budget and understand how we use our funds, I work with organizations to help say, your budget is a mission statement. How we allocate our resources says a lot about what we care about. How are we asking those questions? Bringing that perspective to the board is something that I think I'll do well. I've been on church council multiple times where we have to deal with a very similar type of budget, where we have to figure out how we're going to spend money that we're not exactly sure what those numbers are and allocate it over time, but it's still a mission statement. How we spend our resources says a lot about who we are. On top of that, with the moving around a lot and being an outsider coming into communities, I'm very attuned into 95% is not 100% and 5% is not 0%. How are we dealing with the people that are on the edges? How are we dealing with the people that sometimes we think, you know what, they're doing fine, we don't need to look in on them? How are we still making sure we're checking in to make sure people are doing okay? Bringing that perspective to look for the voices on the edges is something that I'm going to bring to the board.
Thank you, Matt. Linda, any question?
Sure. I'm a career educator. I know what it is like to live in the world and do this work. I have an understanding for recruiting and retaining teachers and managing budgets, curriculum, and I spend my working hours making sure that the students have the services that they need. So that's what I do there, and what I can bring to the board is my connection to the community and my role as a parent. I'm affected by the school calendar, my homework, the activities that our kids have access to. And I know how to listen to different viewpoints and bring them together calmly. It's what I do at work and what I do as a volunteer in the community. I know how to keep the big vision in mind. I am one of the crazy people who works in education and is actually deciding to volunteer and run for school board. And I believe I can be a good sounding board and a thought partner and use my experiences to help all of our kids access the education that they need.
Thank you, Linda. And finally, Nicole.
Sorry. So I feel I'd be with a good asset to the board. Well, you can't really do a C-section without working as a team and knowing each other's roles, movements. You're going for the same goal. So I feel that the board has roles, and it has the same goal. The kids are first. I can learn and grow in this, and I work well with people. I ask questions, I listen, and I believe there's two sides to every story, and being able to compromise on two different opinions or outlooks is very important. So I feel with my qualities, I will be a great addition to the board.
Thank you, Nicole. All right, let's go ahead and move to question number 2. So question number 2 is, from your perspective, what are the most pressing challenges facing our school district? And what ideas do you have for addressing them? And we're going to start with Matt.
So I think the most pressing question is funding. We are asking our schools across the state to do more with less. So how are we going about getting the funding to carry out the program so that we're not just whittling away at the status quo, but we're solidifying our foundation and building upon it? And so how are we getting the funding? One of the things that we're doing now is going to the voters with the referendum. I think that's one of the actions and levers that's available to the board and the school. And I'm glad that we're pulling that one because we need it to support our kids. So I think funding in general in the state is a big issue. I'd say number 2 for me is, how do you navigate between a growing community and the history and culture that founded that community? If you think of the tree as the school is like a tree, the trunk, it dies if it doesn't have strong roots, keeping it in the ground. And it also dies if it doesn't have strong branches reaching out to other parts to say, what else is out there? How is the tree growing while staying rooted? Helping to navigate that conversation is something that I think bringing the experience of being in different communities, working with organizations, a lot of the companies I worked with were very fast growing cultures that were worried about, are we going to lose who we were because of who we are now? I think that's a question that's going to come up within the Bristol community as we continue to grow, as we figure out how to navigate post-pandemic with bringing people from the outside that are, frankly, we're drawing people in because the school is so awesome, because we're doing such a good job educating our kids. People want to come here. That is fantastic. How are we navigating those waters and bringing those people together to stay rooted while still growing?
Thank you, Matt. Excellent. Linda, you'll be next on this one. From your perspective, most pressing challenges facing our school district, and what ideas do you have for addressing?
Right. So there are definitely challenges in education today. I think that Bristol has been pretty well insulated from them because of the incredible support that our community has for our school. But some of the challenges that I'd like to mention to address would be retaining quality staff. The administration's done a great job of establishing Bristol as a destination district, but with a strong reputation. But I want to continue to showcase our community support so that quality teachers want to come here and work. And I want to make sure that our compensation for teachers is competitive so that we can keep those quality teachers. Another issue is to make sure that our curriculum and the resources that our teachers have to teach our kids is updated and relevant. So I want to listen to the parents and the community on what we feel our kids need to learn and look at best practice and the research and listen to the administration on that. And then lastly, education can be really a polarizing area right now. Political ideologies can come to play in a school district, and I just don't think that that's the place for it. That is a significant challenge. I want to keep the communication open for everyone so that we can understand each other and focus on the big picture so that we can keep the politics and partisan arguments to the side as we've done so well in Bristol and continue that moving forward.
Thank you, Linda. Nicole, you're next.
So from my perspective, I feel that the pressing changes are how are our kids doing academically? Our school ranks 483 out of 951 from the elementary standpoint and 140 out of 494 in middle school. So are we focusing more on letting our teachers teach so the kids can learn and understand, or are we worried about comparing ourselves to the other schools for what we have and or offer? From the data I have found, more than half of our kids are either at or below proficiency level. If this info isn't correct, please bring it forward because I would like to see it. What I would like to see is that we support all the teachers being able to teach on how they see fit, whether it's, on the computer, paper copies, writing, chalkboard, well, dry erase now, or however they do it on the board, and so on. But I think we should let the teachers to be able to teach the kids and make adjustments in classes needed on how they are learning. I'd also like to see the grade scale maybe get revisited, because currently it's really top heavy in tests and quizzes versus all the work they're doing. I believe it probably puts some stress and anxiety on the kids, and it can cause them to not do as well because they're more worried about the tests than the work they're doing. I understand that some teachers do allow to fix and correct to get hopefully some points back, but if we can, work with the teachers and advocate and hear from them and get their input, that would be really good.
Thank you, Nicole. And finally, Joanne.
As you know, I don't have children at Bristol School. My baby's 23. So I relied on a lot of the information I got from parents and a few of the really awesome teachers. And what I found was we do have a really strong set of family values here, which is incredible and very rare. I think Bristol's almost on its own in this. In speaking with the families, a frequent topic that came up is now that everything is electronic, and most of the instruction and homework is done on Chromebooks, which stay at school for the younger grades. Parents are having a difficult time helping hold kids accountable to doing their homework because they can't access any of the information. And the teachers that I've met have said, all we want to do is teach these kids. They really work with their hearts and are incredibly committed. So I'm also not an IT person, but there's perhaps a way to link that so that that's not an issue. And maybe our school report card can improve. People do feel better when they are successful, kids and parents. And that's just one idea. I think as a board member, we can work together as a group to iron out any of those discomforts.
Thank you, Joanne. All right, let's move on to question number 3. The third question is, what do you understand the role of a school board member to be? And what are your educational priorities? What do you understand the role of a school board member to be, and what would be your educational priorities? We're going to start with Linda on this.
Great. So the Wisconsin Association of School Board Members puts out a few different roles for the board members, and those include focus on student achievement, policy making for the school and the community there, board administrator relations, evaluation of the administration and the programs, budget responsibility, communicating with the public, and advocacy within the larger political arena. So those are the official roles. But I think most importantly, the school board is to be a sounding board and a communication partner for the parents, students, teachers, administration, and community members. It's important to not micromanage the school details. We have administrators to inform us, and I know that's different because I do that role somewhere else, but the administrators at Bristol School are the ones who inform us of what they need and what the best practices are. But my priorities are to make sure that the parents and the community voices are heard in school decisions, and to work together with the school board and the administration to evaluate achievement and the effectiveness of the programs.
Thank you. Nicole, you're next.
So I understand the board's role to overlook how the district administrator is running the school on behalf of the community, parents, and teachers, as well as making sure that the finances are being handled wisely and effectively. My educational priority would be to make sure that our policies support our kids for their academic career.
Thank you. Joanne?
I believe the school board should be in place to set policy and oversee and support the administration and support the entire school, being good custodian of public funds and focusing on what's important, delivering a top-rate education to our kids.
And finally, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo pretty much everything said here. The spin I'd put on is like, we're there to be partners, ideally trusted partners with the administration as we are that sounding board, ideally trusted partners with the community and the parents as they're looking for, what the heck does all of this policy work mean in this budget that I have no time to read? Can you please summarize this for me and tell me what it is that we're doing? And as we're looking at that budget, we're treating it like a mission statement and saying, this is the prioritization of what's important to you and to us as a school. And my educational priorities, I want kids to fall in love with learning. Like, not every kid is going to love every aspect of what they do at school, but how are we creating opportunities for them to be well-rounded, to see that there's things outside of just the basic academics, but understand that those basic academics are the foundation so that they can find success in those other areas. How are we building that into our curriculum, into our extracurricular programs, so that they can see what's going on in the world outside of the walls of Bristol? Because someday they're going to be there. And the more access they can have to it while they have the space to ask questions here, I think that's going to serve us all better in the future.
Great. Okay, thank you for that. So the fourth question, as we move on here, fourth question is, public education is open to all students, and this means a variety of beliefs. cultures, and values. How would you, as a Board of Education member, navigate these cultural flash? So, variety of beliefs, cultures, and values, intermingling of things. How would you navigate that as a board member? We're going to start with Nicole on this one.
I have to be honest, it's not fully clear to me on what you're trying to ask with this question. Just because we are a public school and not a religious school. There's a lot of beliefs, values, and cultures and families that should also be taught at home. I'm sorry that I'm confused on what you meant by navigate these culture flashpoints, but all kids are here to learn, read, write, add, subtract, socialize, and most of all, respect each other.
Thank you very much for your perspective on that. We're going to move to Joanne next.
As a school board member, we are elected by the community we represent. I feel a responsibility to be aware of the diverse needs of the community without losing sight of the traditional roles of the school. The 3 R's, if you will.
Okay. Thank you. Matt?
I'd lead with curiosity. Like, that's how I enter any of these conversations. People don't act unless they care. And if we're asking them to check a part of themselves at the door when they walk in, that's harder for them to stay focused. So where are we creating the space for people to have the conversations and ask the questions that might not be right in the lane of what they're supposed to be at the moment, but that's where all their energy and their focus is. How are we creating the conversations to let people do that? I think that's part of the job of the board. Because we aren't focused on the administrative running of the school, we have an amazing partner that's already doing that. We can be the conduit for the community to ask those questions and say, how is this part of my life showing up in my school? Because I'm part of that public. So how are we bringing that melting pot together? For me, I lead with curiosity, because people don't act unless they care. And if they care, I want to get to that, because that's what's going to drive them and put their energy into help supporting our community and our schools.
Thanks, Matt. And finally, Linda?
Right. So we have been, I think, pretty well insulated in Bristol against some of these cultural conflicts, because we know that running a school is about the most important people, the little ones. We know that education is a place that needs to be about kids. So even though times right now might be polarized, every day I work with people who I disagree with, and I've been on projects with lots of people who I might disagree with. I've said many times that my opinion, even if it's a strong one, doesn't have to be the right one or the way that we choose. So I know how to ask questions for people who were in the room and not in the room, and come back together to figure out what's the two big questions that we want to answer is what's best for the kids and how can we make that best possible with the resources that we have. So that's how I navigate things in life, and that's what I would bring to the board as well.
Great. Thank you all for your perspectives on that. Next question as we move along in the agenda here. So question number 5 is, an important function of the Board of Education is to provide direct oversight of the district administrator and indirectly the Bristol staff as a whole. Please describe which experiences you hold that would prepare you for this particular responsibility. We're going to start with Joanne on this one.
Raising children and having a long, successful career has prepared me to work with others in a variety of sometimes complicated issues. And I look forward to sharing my knowledge and giving back to my community.
Joanne? Matt?
In a lot of my roles, I've been a manager, so I've had to do some of that oversight, helping people develop. Regardless of how awesome or good we are or struggling, we all have blind spots. I think that's the partnership that we bring to the administration. And so I've worked with a lot of organizations, particularly with their executives, to be that sounding board, to ask those questions. I see this role on the board being very similar to that. So being a ideally trusted partner to help navigate some of those blind spots, and then also lost in translations. Sometimes it's about the time we get tired of saying something that people start to actually hear it consistently. So maybe there's times where the administration is sharing a message that they think has gotten through to the community and somewhere got lost in translation. We get to continue to be that conduit to say, we haven't heard it enough. we need to hear it a few more times from a different perspective. So that oversight is really just helping people and the administration stay on course with what they want to do, point out blind spots, and be a conduit for conversation with the community.
Thank you. Linda, you're next.
Right. So oversight, I evaluate teachers in my work, so I'm familiar with that. And thinking about one of the most important things to oversee is the quality teachers. One of the biggest factors in student achievement is effective teachers working together effectively. I could go way down into data for that, but that's not what my place is here. It's to be a questioning person to wonder if how what we're doing is working. My staff and colleagues know that I say frequently, it only matters if it works. So we set out a plan and we evaluate the progress. So I can bring that to the board, not as my job, but as a member of the community and talking to the community and what we need and bringing those questions forward as a board member.
Thanks, Linda. Finally, Nicole.
So all my experiences, I would have to say, that has prepared me for this responsibility. It's the most work was working at the hospitals where I worked with all the doctors, nurses, labs, techs. I mean, so on. You work with everyone. It's a team, right? So the goal there was to send a happy new family home, and it's much like working here as a team. You're working with the administration, board, parents, and most of all the children. So putting the children first is what I think we should do.
Thank you. All right. Making great progress here, moving along. So question number 6 is, how would you describe your style of working with others as a team or in a meeting setting? So your style of working with others as a team or in meetings. And we will start with Matt on this one.
Probably collaborator would be the best word. I'm always curious what other people are thinking. I want to ask questions. I love to create space to hear those perspectives. And I'm a wonderer. I want to ask a lot of what if questions. How could this potentially work out? I'm exploring the edges. So I want to I partner with people and I lead with curiosity, because people are, again, they don't act unless they care. People aren't going to spend time on the school board unless they care about the school and the kids. So I want to tap into that and see what can we do together. So my method of engagement is ask a lot of questions, work to be a non-anxious presence so that we can put our energy into actually having the relationships and making an impact.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Linda?
Right. So working with the team or in a meeting, we all do that so frequently. But one of my styles is to know what is the end in mind, plan for the process. I want to know what the guiding questions are and what the objectives are. When I was a horse trainer, it was, what is my training pyramid looking like? So sitting in a group of people, I want to know what our goal is. Then I listen and I get feedback. I do a lot of summarizing and clarifying so that I can understand where we're going and make sure I'm clear. And then I suggest a plan, or someone in the room suggests a plan, and we come up with a way to monitor progress and we move forward. And that's what I do all day long. And that's what we could do as a school board too.
Thank you. Nicole?
So I'm a very patient and great listener. I'd like to try and get all the info before making any type of decision. So I feel like compromise is key, and we can do that as a board.
And Joanne, finally on this one.
I think being part of a board is having so many different opinions come in, and hopefully we could all work together to eliminate things that won't work long term, and fine tune and get a good direction on items, whatever the topics are that come up. So I like working in a group.
Excellent. All right, then we have one final question before we then get to closing statements. So the final question is, how do you plan to engage with students, parents, and teachers and other stakeholders to gather input and make informed decisions? We will start with Linda.
Right. So, I mean, even though I understand the inner workings and the background of a school, I know I'm going to need input from others on all of the decisions that we're going to make. I really love collaborating on ideas and projects, and I'm going to engage with parents when I see them in the community. I'll be present at the activities. And I love that this question started with students because that is really the most important thing. So outside of the students that live in my house, I'd love to engage with students somehow to find out what is important to them. So I'm just excited to gather information in a different role.
Thank you. Nicole?
So to engage with all, I would encourage just the emailing, calling, attending board meetings. And it would be nice for us to maybe even reach out to parents or teachers with questionnaires, polls, or surveys. And, my always contact me at any time. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, thank you. Joanne?
I also agree the monthly board meetings are open to everybody. Sometimes that's hard for people to get to because they have dinner and homework and other things. I would encourage participation for direct communication via email, phone calls, surveys, and gathering information from any functions that are happening at the school and what parents' perspectives are on what's happening that's right and what could use some improvement.
Great. Finally, Matt.
I think in general, just being present and being curious in my role. So if I'm on the board, when I'm out at events, making it a point of checking in with people like, hey, how's school going? Or how is a particular issue that's come up in the board meetings hitting you? Are you even aware that this is something that we're discussing and have discussed for like 2 or 3 meetings? How are we making sure we're having communication? If there are particular areas, I love Nicole's idea of having a survey or ways that we can share information and get information back in a sort of anonymized way so that we can get a perspective and a trend versus only one-off stories. I think that gives us a great set of data points to help inform our decisions. And I would invite people to come to the board meetings that are publicly open because I've started attending them and it's eye-opening. You get to hear and see what's going on and it helps things make a lot more sense than when you're not there. So I would encourage you to come at least once and just see what it's like.
Wonderful. Okay, so we have finished all of the pre-submitted questions and we are pretty well ahead of schedule here. So what I would propose is that we go ahead and move into the closing statements. And I don't think we have to be quite as worried about time with these. We had initially said, maximum 3 minutes just to make sure that we're keeping time and we're ending on time. But if you want to take up to 5 at this point, completely fine. Probably didn't prepare for that, but don't be so worried about trying to squish everything all into 3 minutes. How's that? So we will go ahead and start. I think I'm going to go ahead and start sort of in reverse order now with the closing statements. So really closing statements are just meant to be anything else that might be important to each of the candidates that they didn't necessarily touch on in the Q&A, things that they really want to resonate with you as the voting community, things that are very important to them, things that are critical to them, and they really want to stick in your mind as you go to the polls on April 2nd. So we will start in reverse order on this. And as I said, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you guys feel you need for the closing statements. Nicole, you're first.
So in closing, what's extremely important is that the kids just come first. That's bottom line for me. And I want to thank everyone for your time and putting this on. It's greatly appreciated. And I would also love to see everyone come out and vote on April 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Take that. Linda, you're up.
Okay, so public school is an incredible American achievement when you think about it. I mean, any kid in our country gets to go to the school that's in their hometown and they get to have a free and appropriate public education. It's amazing when you think about what this country has done for that. And when you think about the urgency of it, each year for our children is 1/13 of their educational career. So it's important. And the fact that there's all of these people wanting to give our time like that, that's really impressive. And I believe that public education is worth my time and my investment and our money. I mean, educated kids grow up to productive, educated, thoughtful adults, and it's worth our time and our effort and our taxes so that our property values and our community is also wrapped up in this school. And when we support the school supports the community. All of that is so important, and it makes me actually really happy that there is like a race that's running here and people care about this so much. So, I am a person that is passionate about public schools, and I spend a lot of my time as an educator. And please come out and vote in April.
Thank you, Linda. Matt, you're next.
I'd say just the biggest thing of like back to the trunk of the tree, like the school, we need to stay rooted in who we are, but as we grow, continue to adapt to the environment around us, learning how to navigate those two pieces so we can stay rooted and continue to grow. I also believe that if we're going to continue to grow, I'm really excited to see when I was attending the board meetings that there's a strategic plan that we're working towards something, because a lot of times we tend to confuse activity with progress. If we don't know where we're going, it's very hard to tell if we're getting there. So I continue to support us having a strategic plan to design what are we doing to continue to build the strong foundation as the environment changes and our context shifts. How are we doing this differently to continue to deliver the excellent educational experience at Bristol in this new environment? And another piece for me is fiscal responsibility, in the sense that I don't believe that anything is a cost. Everything is an investment. We need to look at not only how much are we putting into it, but what are we getting out of it? And so part of that strategic plan is also, how are we measuring what we're doing? Is it just the test? Is it other pieces of the development of our students and our community? How are we making sure that the money that we're investing is going to move us forward? That to me is being fiscally responsible. It doesn't mean just not spending money. It means spending money wisely. So I'm in support of the referendum, and I hope outside of coming out in April 2nd to vote in general, that you would vote yes for the referendum to continue to support our schools. Outside of that, just thanks for taking the time. Like, this is an hour of your evening, your day, whenever you come actually watch this later. Thank you to the PTO for putting this out. Thanks to the administration and the current school board for all the hard work that we'll be able to build on when we get to this next year.
Thank you, Matt. And finally, Joanne.
With multi-generations going through Bristol School and so many of these family members still living here, I feel incredibly honored to have the opportunity to represent them in this really special school. I appreciate all of your time and consideration. And if elected, I will do my very best to represent everyone. To do so effectively, please make sure you vote April 2nd. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much to all of the candidates who have taken out their little bit of time out of their day to talk about themselves, their experience, their background, answer the questions that were submitted by the community members. Really appreciate that. Thank you to Mr. Musha for being here as well, for the support that you so awesomely give the PTO and the school all day, every day. We really appreciate that. Again, I think each of the candidates said it quite well when they said it's really important that we get folks out there and voting. So April 2nd, please do vote for the school board members as well as the referendum. Really, really important vote there. I mean, this is not going to increase the mill rate. It can only do great things for Bristol School, for our kids, for our community. So please do get out there, vote yes for that. And if you have any questions, if you have additional questions that were not necessarily answered tonight, each of the candidates does have an individual Facebook page, so you can search their name and school board and you'll find their Facebook page where they post various things. You could probably approach them with any additional questions. If you do have other questions, though, that you would like the PTO to address for you, you can always inbox us or post it to our Facebook page as well, and we'll make sure to try to get that to the candidates and get the candidates to answer anything else that you'd like to hear about. Keep an eye on our Facebook page for upcoming events and fundraisers and other ways that you can support the PTO to support the school and staff and students. I will echo, I heard that several times tonight. Bristol is an amazing school, amazing community. My 8th grader is graduating this year, and It's going to be a much different ride here when we're leaving Bristol. It's been a wonderful, fabulous, all these years with the school and with the community. Moving on to Central is going to be a little bit scary, but another amazing school as well. But thank you all so much for taking the time. Jack, anything else you wanted to add here before we close?
Yeah, excuse me. I just wanted to echo your sentiments, and I know all the board members said that if you had extra questions to reach out to them. Same holds true to me, as always. Feel free to shoot me an email or make an appointment to come and see me. I had the pleasure of meeting each of the 4 candidates and answer some of their questions. So that goes to you 4 as well. If you have further questions as you run here in the next 5 or 6 weeks or so, please feel free to email me, stop in. I've got obviously any of the information that you guys need, or if you have further questions about the district in general or the upcoming ballot question, please reach out through email or make an appointment to see me. I am more than happy to meet and answer as many questions as I can. Thanks again for everybody for tuning in, and those that'll watch later.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Take care, and please vote on April 2nd. Bye, everyone.